Welcome back to another exciting episode of Collectible Conversations, where we're your hosts, Squeaks and Radar. And boy, do we have a juicy one for you today. Today's topic that we want to discuss are just some of the things that Pokemon has done really well over the years and some of the things that they haven't done quite so well. And this could be anything from licensing to merchandising, media, the video games, the card game, pretty much anything that falls under the Pokemon umbrella. We want to cover because overall it all matters and it all goes together. But before we do that, I got to ask you, Radar, how are you doing? New place, new everything behind you. How you feeling being in Michigan now? New change.
Uh, it feels weird. I mean, without going into, enough detail or too much detail, it was a big life-changing transition, but it's been really, really tough. And but I'm excited about the self-improvement and the changes that I will make in order for life to be better moving forward. So I feel more professional. I've got hardwood in the background. So do you now. We're adults instead of flashing lights and cheap whatever. But yeah, I'm at my brother's place. He's got horses, he's got dogs, so it's pretty peaceful and
In
yeah,
the horses, in the Instagram stories,
yeah,
you've definitely been hanging out with them a lot. So
yeah.
I
They're
think you
nice.
had one that was like you put like Ponyta and Rapidash or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I mean
When
that's
like
not their names, but that's what I'm calling them.
well, sure, yeah. But like Mudsdale, right? Like Mudsdale. Like I
Oh,
know Mudsdale's like a Clydesdale, but like they look more like a Mudsdale
they
than they do. Like
well that I
I just
mean
thought it was so
that
funny.
that just reassures how much of a Gen 1er I am. So like
Dude,
that makes so much more
that is
sense,
true.
Mudsdale.
You are.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have a whole podcast episode about how you are a Gen 1er in denial.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, man, no,
awesome.
things are on the up, obviously, and I'm excited for what comes next with my personal life and stuff. But how about you? What's going on with you? You finally got your room furnished there. Is that kind of the completion of the new house? Are you there?
Of the whole house, of this room, it is for
Okay.
sure. You guys can't see them, but under the window, there's just like some little cubicle things um, that we're using right now. It's kind of like a makeshift bookshelf that we had at the other house. Eventually, I would like to get something a little nicer that kind of matches these.
Hmm.
But with the way the economy is going and everything like that, we don't have to dive into that. I just want to wait a little bit and just not everything has to be done right now. And I think that this is actually like a really good lesson that collecting has taught me is like, when we moved to our last house, I wanted to do everything right away, right? Like
Yeah.
all the furniture, all the pictures, all just everything done and knocked out. And like, especially during like the heyday period when people were trying to collect because like everything was spiking up in price, which like we're seeing that same thing right now, right? Like materials on everything are spiking up and everything's inflating. But you don't have to do everything right now, right? Everything can be done at your own pace as you go, and there's almost like some fun in that you kind of get a journey instead of just like a boom boom done,
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of enjoying being here in the new place and you know hunting around shopping for certain things and figuring things out. So
Good.
we did finally get the cabinets. You can see just kind of blurry in the background and everything, which is kind of how I wanted it. I wanted to like me stay the focus, but you can see some of the stuff back there is just maybe someday I'll do a little like tour or something of it. But
That'd be nice. We'd
um
we'd love to see that.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's great. I mean, I think all the self-improvement books that I'm reading and things like that. One of the main things is, life is about the journey and it's not about the destination and all that stuff, which we hear all the time as, might be cliche, but it's true. I mean, like if you were to finish all that right away and like not do it alongside, Brit or whatever your collecting journey is, not doing it alongside a friend, like it's not as enjoyable. So it's important to really enjoy those moments of building out the things that you want at your house and make it the way you guys want. So fun.
Yeah. My big thing was just like I wanted some furniture. I don't need
Well,
all the
yeah,
furniture. I just need some furniture. Like having because like we didn't want to unpack any of this stuff, right? We just had boxes of it laying around because like eventually, like why unpack it somewhere and then have to remove it when the furniture finally comes. So like now that we're finally getting that, can I at least get some of like the things that kind of make it feel like home unpacked? The stuff
yeah,
that's really important to us, our collectibles, our just the things we care about. That's really helped. And
yeah.
hopefully it will help the audio some. I mean, I'm still in a pretty big room. It's still pretty echoey. We'll probably troubleshoot some of the pads and things like that. But
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid it. I think now you're also kind of in a room that's similar. Of like it's a
Lighting's
little
different.
larger,
Yeah.
nothing on the walls.
Yeah.
So we'll work on that. So if our audio quality isn't A tier this week, maybe we'll have to give Pat a call and have Pat help us work through it because I'm sure that he's been through this a time or two. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm happy. You look rejuvenated. You look like you're ready to take a new lease on life, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean, again, definitely the hardest thing in life going through it, but doing my best to stay positive and again get that get that growth and be better. So I put on
well,
this
and you'll come out on the other side
yeah.
bigger, stronger. More swole. Ooh, yeah, we'll start working out together. Whew,
I did some
baby,
push-ups
we are gonna
yesterday and
get jacked.
I feel good.
Dude, oh my gosh. That I could tangent off that so hard, but I won't. I won't. For the sake of the viewers, I will not. They're probably thinking like, "Whew, thank God, geez, I'd have to skip again
we,
every video."
we don't
Just
need we don't need workout and like healthy lifestyle tips from a couple of nerdy collectors.
yeah, true. Oh yeah, that is true. Hey, actually, you know what? You have water, and I have our signature brand Mountain Dew.
Well, there's one thing. Drink water, guys. Mountain Dew, sure.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, definitely, especially this early in the morning. But let's get into our main topic for the day. And to start off, I kind of want to explain how I got here, right? Because like to let you all know, I was the one that came up with this topic. I told Radar this morning, like, man, I've been thinking about this. I think we got to cover this one. And the reason was because last week on Blips and Bleps, Radar had the winning blip, which was a very controversial. He thought Pokemon Worlds 2022, which is going to be held in London, I believe,
Yep.
is going to be a bust. That's what he left us with. We had to sit and stew on that. Of man, that's pretty loaded, and there's a lot there. And so I was starting to think of like, okay, when we discuss this, like, what are my points going to be my counterpoint? Like things like that, because I don't necessarily agree with that. And
Mm,
so when I was thinking through that whole process, which we'll get into it, I started thinking about like, let's say it was a bust, like who would that fall on? Like whose fault is that? Is it just a fault of the times? Is it a fault of Pokemon? Is it a fault of the players or the community?
the
Whatever.
location.
And yeah, and so one of the things that I had came up with was, would it be a fault of Pokemon?
Mm,
And then that like led me down that rabbit hole of like, man, what over the years has been Pokemon's fault? What's been the community's fault? Whatever. And the good and the bad. Because like sometimes Pokemon gets flack for things that I think they do really well. And other times I think they get praised for things that they didn't do very well and just
yeah.
kind of like lucked into. And so then I was like, man, that would be an interesting topic to discuss because we hear about a lot of these different things in like very like niche moments where we'll discuss like a certain thing. But so I want to after we talk about worlds, I want to take it all the way back. Start like really early on. Pokemon launch, everything like that, and just bring it forward. Things they've done well, things they haven't done well. But first, because everyone wanted to hear your logic, your take, and I hope it's better than just that's what I think. Like, why do you believe Pokemon Worlds 2022 is going to be a bust?
Yeah, there's a few things to unpack here. So I don't know if you guys have watched the
Well, he's sitting up in his chair. We're in for a
I
ride.
don't know if you guys have watched the the Pokemon Presents and all that stuff or whatever's come out about Worlds. Um, with that they usually put out with their information on it for attendees and competitors and all that. But yeah, I strongly suggest go look that stuff up, see what's been put out there. There's also a conversation with a judge that Real Breaking Nate and the Shadows podcast did. I think that could be a good thing to listen to as well to kind of see it from that side. Um, but yeah, so number one is the location. As uh, great as it is that Pokemon is opening up their mind to go to other places other than the U.S., I just think that for their first international Worlds event, I would have liked to have seen it in Japan. To pay homage to its start, to go back to again, yeah, just where it started and where it's from, and I think it just would have had a better connection with the Pokemon community worldwide if it was held in Japan. Um, the UK is London especially is I'm sure a great hub for people to makes it easy for people to go to and enjoy. But uh, to be fair, the UK is a lot smaller than what people imagine. Like London's a big city, but it's a pretty small area. And I just think that they should have went with Japan for their first international Worlds event, moving out of the U.S. And it would have been a lot more exciting. And that's probably
Wait, I have to ask
biased.
you a question.
Yeah.
I have to ask you a question. Maybe I just missed this because my brain is like processing what you're saying while also trying not to think of like 500 things in response to what you're saying. So maybe you already mentioned it. I just totally missed it. Everyone's gonna be like, "Dang, Squeaks is dumb" in the comments. But have you been to London?
No.
Okay, so but you said it's small. Is that just
It's
like
no, it's a
anecdotal or
big
like?
city. It's a big city, but the UK in itself is small.
Yeah,
And
because I'm just thinking like like the
especially
whole like.
the card collecting community too. I think
Okay,
I think
okay,
it's
sure.
small. Yeah.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I was just thinking because like they hold like nationals in Columbus or Indianapolis, which also like aren't just like the great, the biggest
Yeah.
landscapes ever. And
Yeah.
those events are going to be arguably larger than like nationals is usually like a multi-thousand person event. And Worlds has like more of a collector and spectator base now than what it used to, but
Yeah.
competitor wise, it's drastically smaller. So like
Right.
in terms of
Well,
I don't know, but keep going, and
well
then we'll debate
that's
it.
funny you say
I
that.
just I
You
you
know,
said that, I was like, "Wait, has Radar been to London?" Like,
I think you're more keen on the competitive space as well, because I was going to bring up as well. The next thing is what they announced in Pokemon Presents is that they were adding even more games or events to the Worlds. And in my opinion, they're making it too big with the amount of I guess games involved. I didn't even know Tekken tournament was still a thing. I thought that was a joke. Um,
tournament.
is it what is it called? Poke.
It's Pokken tournament. What do you mean? Tekken's its own game.
The Pokemon
Oh
Tekken. Yeah.
no! Oh
I thought that
no!
was a joke. Like I get it.
Chat's just watching my
I
brain
get it. It
melt.
was in 2019 or whatever or seven. I don't know when it came out. It was a new game. It was exciting, but it's awful to watch. It's
Okay. I'll let you finish your whole thought piece, and then we'll break this
and
down
then
one by
they
one.
also
I just
added in Pokemon Go like in 2019 again, and that was kind of a soft entry into that being competitive. That's even worse to watch. It's just people tapping a screen. Um, and then I like that they added in Unite because I'm a fan of League of Legends. So that whole genre of gaming I enjoy. But they're just adding too many things in it, which I think will, at least from my experience of going to these events, I don't think the spectator setup is optimized for viewing these types of things. So they either need to this needs to be this setup the convention center needs to be set up in a way to really improve the spectating side of things at the event for this to do well, because if it's set up the way it was where they just have like literal chairs in one area by the main stage and then like kind of the side chairs for Tekken or whatever, Pokken Pokken tournament, whatever you call it, it's
just
just
ignoring it now. That's what I'm just.
it's just like the event is set up for the card TCG mainly. Like that's the most space that the halls take over with that, because that's what they need the most space for. So the fact that they're adding in all these other games, having other sections with it, it's going to kind of take away from the little side things that spectators could do to kill time, and probably just when you go in there, you'll most likely, in my thought, again, 100% assumptions here, you'll have to sit down in an area and watch what's going on. There's not going to be as much play like areas within the event that you can, yeah, that you can hang out at. Yeah. So I'm not a competitor. I'm just a spectator. I'm a collector. Me going to this event with the changes that are being made, I don't think I would particularly enjoy it the same as I have in the past. Um,
Okay.
I got into that one way deeper than I thought I would, and I'm drawing a blank. But also, they announced the new trophy for the Pikachu, but
I did see that.
it was
It's
just the
cool.
physical one. I'm kind of thinking there might be this chance that they take the card away for some reason. I don't know. You don't think
No,
so?
they've done a champion. Okay, that one's not happening. They've
Okay.
done a championship card every single year,
Yeah.
like
I mean,
everyone.
since
And they know
97.
how important that is to the winner, and so that's not going anywhere. I
Okay.
don't. I would. I mean, we'd have to make a whole new podcast about things Pokemon said wrong if they did do that. I
Yeah.
don't think that's going to happen. I
Okay.
don't think that so the big question I've seen lately regarding that, and we'll circle back to some of these other topics, but the regarding the trophy card is will the Pogo or the Unite winners get them? And I don't
Mm,
think that will be the case because they didn't do it with Pokken.
mhm.
They didn't get trophies, and they didn't get trophy cards. They might have gotten actual like trophies,
Yeah, I think they
but
do.
I suspect that because I think Pokken might have actually gotten a custom controller.
Okay.
And I could be wrong about that, but I think they did, which would be more fitting,
Yeah.
right? To like have the championship thing be memorabilia from like what the game is, right? So like Pokemon Go would be cool if you got like a character in game with like a winner sash or something. I don't know, but
Yeah. That'd be cool.
and then Unite would be like maybe a skin, right? So like in League of Legends, they
Ooh.
do championship skins for the teams. The first year they ever did that was when I think SKT won that year,
Yeah.
and they did skins. I think Pokemon Go would be really cool. It'd also be a great way for them to merchandise if then they sold those skins as well. I think that would be really neat. But whether they wanna go down that full rabbit hole route and that deep into it, who knows? It's the first year they're doing it.
Yeah.
But I think the trophy cards are gonna stay. So I'll let you
Okay.
finish your thoughts on it, and then we'll discuss debate. But
Yeah, so
I think
the last thing, and I think the most important one here is simply the expectations. Um, that's just gonna lead to a lot of disappointment and letdown. I think
do you think they're high? Like, people's
I
expectations
think they're
are high for this?
extremely high, especially again being in international for the first time for the UK, the whole all of Europe, the people that can get there easily. Um, I think for the collectors who see it from an outside perspective, again in the world that I live in, everyone that hasn't been to one of these before now has the opportunity. Like all the European and UK have the opportunity to get to one. I think their expectations going to be so high for it. And again, it's been what they canceled the last 2 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
yeah.
so 3 years since
One
the last one.
2020 and 21 were canceled, I
So
believe.
it's
20 they did Players' Cups in 21, which was supposed to be kinda like, I think, their equivalent,
okay.
but
So this is the first one in 3 years. People have high hopes, and I just think that's going to lead to disappointment. No matter how good it might be, I think it could get just a bad rap from like the people who like to hate and complain. So that's
sure,
just how I
well,
see it.
those people are they already have their laundry list in preparation, dude. They're out there, putting them up on the clothesline to air out for the day because
Yeah.
they're ready to roll. So like, the vocal minority opinion, like,
Doesn't matter.
in this hobby, you just have to learn not to care about it
Right.
because they're always gonna find a reason to complain. They're always gonna find something to pick about. Pokemon could do 99 things right and one thing wrong, and they will take that one thing and make it like it was the whole event. So like that doesn't matter. To me, I look at it more as what like how successful is the event as a whole in for two parts. The first is the people that attend because the event is for them, right? The competitors, the
Right.
ones that actually achieve the accomplishment of getting to play in worlds for any of their respective games. And if they are satisfied with the event, that should be for the most part the highest priority. Spectators may be second, and then the other part of that is what is the viewing experience like for the online? Because a lot of people cannot travel the worlds, they can't be a part of it, but do
Mhm.
still participate in those games and want to view and watch that game online. Now, Pokemon's production quality the last few years has absolutely skyrocketed, and this year they have, I believe it's their largest casting crew that they've ever had.
Oh, good.
And that's, that's great, and they're bringing in a lot of, a lot of the old guard in, people like Puka, who obviously works for Pokemon now, Kyle Sukovic, but also bringing in, some of these new fresh faces that have been in the Pokemon community that, like Sierra Dawn's one that comes to mind.
Mm.
I've known Sierra for years. We used to both stream on Twitch. She still streams on Twitch. She does YouTube content, blogging, but now she's like really diving into her casting career and, entering it with Pokemon, but now she has a massive community base of, bringing some of those people that were always just PTCGO players online, right? And didn't go to events and stuff like that. And she would do vlogs and those kind of things and bring people towards that. So having kind of that blend of like the old guard that really caters to that like longtime competitive player that's been in for years, whatever, and more some of that new guard. I saw that Caribou was brought in, who I would argue is one of the bigger PTCGO streamers today. I believe she's primarily on YouTube. I think maybe she does Twitch sometimes. Bringing in people like that that are going to help bridge that gap some. I think that's going to improve the viewing experience for a lot of people. And because it's a familiar face, right? It's not this event where I don't know any of the casters, I don't know any of the players, I don't know, any other than the cards, I don't know anything that's going on. And so, that familiarity, I think,
Yeah.
is huge. Bringing Necra back on the cast is huge, and she's to the point now that she's like doing the voiceovers, like she did the Legends Arceus like
Oh,
trailer,
cool.
so, like, I think it for viewing experience, because I just, like, kinda wanna wrap this with a nice bow, I think they're doing a really good job of improving that,
Good.
for the people at home that can't go. I think that's been on the up and up. I would love to see more marketing push towards it to just, get more people to watch, not just VGC, but TCG as well. And I think doing the dual streams where they do both and then they'll have a main one that they kind of like rotate back and forth on. I think that's really strong in helping push in that direction. Um, but I would still love to see more push because there's the trading card game and its marketing behind it's so massive. But then it feels like when you kind of get to that organized play competitive side, it's not. I hate to use the word abysmal because it sounds harsh, but it is. For how the game's been around for, 25 years now, and to only pull a few thousand viewers on a stream, um, that to me is just not that impressive. When you could take a creator like Purple Cliff, for example, who used to primarily be a PTC Joe streamer, now he's one of just the largest YouTubers for Pokemon. Nuzlocke runs, opens cards, everything. He integrates the two together really nicely. He'll like open a booster pack and build his team based on what he gets in the pack. Things
Yeah.
like that. Those are the kind of people I would, he could pull 2,000 viewers on his own stream. And those are the people I would love to see them start to integrate with, collaborators more, which they've really started to branch out and do. So I want to give them credit there. Um, but I would love to see more of that integration into Worlds. So not just with commentators and casters, but to almost just have some, it's like the equivalent of color casting, but just like some of those people there that, maybe they're on site to do autographs and stuff or can do, it's kind of like what made Collecticon big, right? They
Yeah.
brought in a bunch of influencers, people that really build the hobby up, people that it's going to generate interest that these people are there. And they may have done something similar to this with Pokken when it first launched. I feel like they had like a influencer tournament or something. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but like that's what I'd love to see.
Well, with
Like oh maybe it's
Pokemon
two
Go,
matches of influencers playing or
yeah,
something.
with Pokemon Go for the 2019, they brought Unlisted Leaf on to
Well,
battle
that's what it was.
somebody,
Yeah, it was Pokemon Go, not
and
Pokken. Yeah,
and and
and I think that's
yeah,
cool. I think that's huge for the hobby because you're pulling those people's base, the market that maybe you've reached through your brand, but you haven't reached them through the competitive funnel.
yeah,
And you're kind of pulling that casual community in, which is what I think Pokemon really needs to boost it up is to make people know that playing Pokemon, going to events, going to, some of these different kinds of things, and maybe not Worlds, right? Worlds is creme de la creme, people are getting flights, all kinds of stuff. But like just like going to your local league, you don't have to be a try hard competitive player to go to your local league and have fun. And
yeah,
I think that kind of just the whole philosophy of competitive organized Pokemon is what I would like to see them maybe take a stance change. So I'm kind of tying this back, back in from just the viewing aspect to just kind of their whole perspective and bringing this back to Worlds. You know, you the first thing I want to touch on is the location because you had mentioned London. It's kind of small. It's in Europe. That you would have liked to have seen it in Japan. So the first thing I want to touch on there is primarily I would say a large percentage of people that are going to be there are going to be from the USA and Europe. I would say the largest percentage. I
Mm,
mean, you're still going to have, South America representation, some, Japan, different, Oceania, but primarily a large percentage are going to be those. So when it's been in USA a lot, um, where could you host it internationally that it's not just a massive culture shock? I don't know if it exists there, but I have a hard time believing in Japan that you can just like bust out an Uber and like go to your next location,
their
and
public transportation's pretty easy.
it is, but you have to figure it out, right? And if you don't read the language and you don't have a tour guide or anything like that,
Oh, I mean,
like
it's you pull up your phone, you're good. Like,
really?
it's so
Okay, and
clear.
and
But
I like I said,
yeah.
I've never been to Japan, so I don't know, but I'm just thinking like, I'm thinking from Pokemon shoes of trying to give them benefit of the doubt of their like, "Okay, we're gonna take this overseas the first time." What is the like? Because you gotta remember also, I do know that Japanese culture is a lot different
Yeah.
in terms of things, like, what is least likely to pose an incident? What is least likely to pose something where we have some kind of PR backlash or something like that, where it's like, I almost think you could, like, ease people into that,
Yeah.
um,
I like that
and
thought. I like that thought. Yeah.
but also, like, if you're going to host an international Worlds, if you're gonna do it in Japan, you need to make sure that that is the most banger event you have ever done because people have waited for like you want to talk about high expectations. A Worlds in Japan would have the highest expectations. So if I'm Pokemon, I'm thinking, hey, let's maybe do one, two, three of these in other places first. Really iron out our process, iron out what the logistics look like. Because let me give you one that maybe if you haven't played competitive, you wouldn't realize. You have to have all kinds of judging and staff, and your judging and staff that needs to travel needs to primarily be people that can speak the language of your largest demographic of players. So obviously they're going to have judges there that can translate Japanese or can translate, in other languages, but you need a massive judging staff that can speak English there. And so if you're going to Japan, you can't just utilize your full Japanese judging staff unless they're bilingual.
Right.
And so in that regard, you've got to make sure if you're hosting it in Japan, because I can't imagine trips to Japan are cheap, that you're going to be able to get your full staff there so that you can run the tournament efficiently, which is again the primary focus of the whole event. Whereas in Europe, you don't really have as much of an issue of that because they also have an extremely robust staff. And I mean, some of the European staff have been trailblazers in innovation towards innovating judging in competitive Pokemon. And so you already have a really good core group there. Now, obviously, tons of people are still going to travel over and everything like that. And it's a big deal if you're a staff member to also get your Worlds invite and be able to be a staff member for that. So you're still going to have that, but you have a bigger core base there. Whereas your bigger core base in Japan, which I'm sure exists because they have their own circuit, like that percentage isn't going to be able to be used as heavily. So my first thought is always with this is logistics, which I think is the thing that kind of Pokemon tends to get a bad rap for, and maybe we'll see that with a lot of things as we talk about just things over history. Is it's they're a business, they have to operate this, they have to put it on, and people don't think about that stuff. They always just think about it from like their bubble, and I'm trying to think about it from like what hoops are they having to jump through that they're like, "Man, this isn't worth it," or "It is worth it." I think they would love to host an event in Japan. I think that they've gotta figure out the logistics on doing that, and I
Yeah.
think it's easier if you kind of, like I don't wanna say, like, baby step your way over because you could just go the other way, but, on the globe, but you've gotta ease into it.
Fair point.
I also
Yeah.
think London makes sense. They're launching a Pokemon Center in London.
Oh,
Like, I
that's
believe
right.
it's a permanent one.
Yeah.
And so it's not like they're gonna do a temporary pop-up one for Worlds, but I believe they're actually launching a permanent one there. And if I'm right about that and that's the case, marketing,
Yeah.
right? So from their marketing perspective, they get a bunch of people there, bunch of people locally see Pokemons going on, a bunch of people in Europe see Pokemons going on. And so then I'm sure they'll have advertisements everywhere that like,
Talk about a kick in the nuts, though, dude. I mean, we had a Pokemon Center at one point. They took it away from us, and come on.
Bro, real estate in New York's too expensive. Like, I know. I love it, but my understanding is that they're either getting a permanent one or they're getting an online permanent,
They've
right?
had
Because right now
online.
the online Pokemon Center is Japan, and then there's the
I
US-based
thought
one, and so
yeah, okay. I thought they had
Well, even if
online.
it's just online, that's still a marketing opportunity. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because like this is it's gonna be all over the news. It's gonna be, it's gonna be in newspapers, it's gonna be on the internet, like and that's a big deal. And so to me, it's kind of like one of those double-edged things. Let's use Logan Paul as an example, right? He buys an illustrator and markets it through the WWE, right? And
Yeah.
like that's a way to set himself apart. Like a lot of these things when it comes to like businesses, everything works in tandem. Everything has a purpose, right? Putting
Yeah.
it in London, they didn't just like throw a dart at a board and be like, "Oh, London it is, yay!" Like because they'd have like a 50% chance of landing us in like the Atlantic Ocean or something. So yeah, they're they're taking it. It's in
The
London,
first
but
underwater tournament.
yeah, yeah, it's on a submarine and only 8 people
It's
qualify,
in the
so
bubble bowl like in SpongeBob. Comes.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think location choice versus Japan, yes. I think they're very aware that Japan is the most wanted.
Yeah.
I think this makes sense, though.
Okay.
And in terms of actual location, like London itself, I think it's fine. It's an
Yeah.
incredibly well-known location, incredibly historic. It has a great theme. The theme itself, because I believe wasn't Pokemon Sword and Shield based off of Europe? Like, I'm pretty sure it
Oh,
was.
maybe. I don't
And
know.
so because I'm pretty sure that's why it was supposed to be in 29 or, like, 2020 was, like
Oh,
it's, like, part of, like, the Sword and
yeah, I
Shield,
didn't
like,
even think of that.
launch thing, and now it's just gotten pushed, but, so I'm sure there's, like, some theme there, right? And maybe I'm wrong and everyone's already typing it in the comments, which is great. Thanks for the help. But I'll be sure to like those bad boys. Which, by the way, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, you should do it right now as you're typing your angry comment. At least if you're gonna write me something nasty, at least subscribe to the channel. I mean, come on. But yeah. So I think location's fine. I mean, nationals is arguably the second. Which now they're called intercontinentals. I still call them nationals because that's what they used to be called. But the North America Intercontinentals, is held in Columbus or Indianapolis, and that's arguably like the second largest event of the year. And I think London is far superior to those,
Yeah.
right? And also has just a massive base of people. So I'm fine with that one. I'm fine with London. I think it's a fine location. Um, they held Worlds at Nashville, Tennessee one time. Like, come on. I think London's a step up from Nashville. Even though the Nashville theme I actually thought was pretty cool. But um what other points? Oh, the games, the gaming, the
Expansion of.
being
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's important. One of the things I think Pokemon didn't do well enough for many years, maybe they still don't, based on some of my critiques, is to push the competitive trading card game.
Yeah.
And or just the community around it, right? Like I said, you don't have to be a competitive player to go out and enjoy your local league. But I think one of the things that they're doing that they didn't do well at the start of Pogo was push Pokemon Go, which part of that was because the game wasn't really finished, right? They didn't have all the PvP, they didn't have all of these things built out, they just launched it. Which maybe that's, funding
Was it
constraints, they need to start
wasn't there
generating revenue.
yeah, it was Niantic, right? Still is Niantic. So it wasn't like I don't think it was a big part of their main priority, at least.
I think they knew they were gonna have something big because there was another game that people played that it was almost like a reskin of, but I think they knew it was gonna be big because it was Pokemon theme. I don't think anyone knew that it was gonna be what it was,
Right.
and so then obviously the push comes to, like, get all these features out and everything like that, and I think that them including it at Worlds is a huge deal because it really solidifies that it's important to them. It shows the players this isn't gonna be some mobile game that we just scrap 2 years from now and you lose all your progress and all your stuff. We actually care about it, right? It's the same thing for Pokken. They had Pokken on the Wii U flop. They re-released it on the Switch. It's still a thing. It's not huge, but it's one of those things that they're still showing and representing that they're still dedicated to that community and that they, like they came out and said, we're going to run a circuit series for you guys. We're going to have worlds for you guys. And they're still showing that dedication, even though I don't think at this point anyone would blame them if they did let it go. And I think that we have now that kind of same thing with Unite, right? Unite was huge when it came out. It blew up. Everyone was playing it. Then it kind of started to fall off. Now it's got like its core community base that plays and watches it. Are they gonna continue to support it? Or was it just like "Oh, we can do this thing, it's quick money because everyone's stuck at home, blah, blah, and we'll move on with their lives."
Yeah.
And I like that they're supporting it. I like that they're showing that. The biggest thing I want from a game developer whether it be a board game, a trading card game, a video game, whatever, is to show me that you are going to stand behind your product. Show me that if I get invested in this as a consumer, as someone that's going to put my money and time into it, that it's going to be around. We see this with new trading card games all the time. People will jump into a new trading card game, they'll have competitive play, whatever, and then they exit a year in. And it's like, great, I spent all that money and all that time and learned the game and got really good at it and everything, and now it's all for naught. And so I like that they're expanding it out, even if it's not huge. I like that it's a portion of the biggest event of the year because I think it shows that they care. And I think that's really important to your brand to let people know that you're gonna stick behind it.
Yeah.
So, that would be kinda my perspective on that. Now in terms of structure and everything like that. I've never been to a Worlds. I've only been to Nats, which is now Intercontinental. So those were always set up really well in terms of like having a dedicated space for vendors, dedicated space to view, dedicated space to have open play area, another space for trading, things like that. I don't know about Worlds as much. Um, I know that there's obviously a lot of things going on. I would hope that it being in London, big touristy area, things like that, that they're going to expect a large spectator crowd, and so they would also then therefore expect they're going to need some extra ample space to do certain things, to have that spectator area, to have that open play area, those types of things. And so I I'm cautiously optimistic. When I heard that you said you thought it was going to be a flop, I kind of figured maybe it would be more of a piggyback off of just like the hype of Pokemon has been a bust, like, or like not a
W-
bust, but like the hype of
Yeah.
Pokemon has like trailed off, and so like Worlds is gonna trail off. But I actually think you brought like a lot of interesting points to talk about,
Thank
and
you.
you know, I'm still like not that okay. No, you laugh because you're thinking I'm saying
No, no,
that
no,
I
no.
didn't think it's gonna be interesting. It's just like because right now in the hobby, right? If it's positive, it's like because it's still off the boom. If it's negative, it's like because Pokemon's dying and everything's dead, right? So like
Well,
I was
again,
hoping it was gonna be a little more
my that blip in my point of view comes purely from a collector standpoint. I think they're going to crush it competitively.
okay, great, great.
Because
So
like you said, that's their number one priority. I think Pokemon sticks to that. I think they support like their mission very very strictly, and that's always been their focus is to make that event for competitors. And who knows if they make money off the event directly? It's obviously to promote their brand in as many ways as possible, but it's also an event to thank the people who take it seriously.
sure.
So yeah,
So let me ask you
it's
this then.
yeah.
From your perspective, how can they improve it as as a collector slash spectator, like somebody that's just going to go along for the ride? You're not in the tournament, you don't play the card game or the video games, you
It's
like Pokemon, you like cards. How could they improve it to make your experience better?
I mean, personally, it would be things that would that I know they won't let fly. I think they do a great job with having the exclusive stuff at the pop up Pokemon shop. I think that hits the majority of the crowd. It's perfect amount for people to get something special and to collect that other people can't get. Um, it is really fun to go around and negotiate with the players, the staff members to get the stamped cards, to get their backpacks and all their exclusive merch that they get. Like there are fun things for collectors. But it seems like, and I still have some hope that they'll bring this back, but they've axed the illustrators coming in and meeting the fans of the card game.
I thought they were doing it this year.
I don't I haven't heard anything.
I think Ishihara is gonna be there, and I think there's another one.
Well,
Because I actually saw
Ishihara is
Roberto
the
Snyder was talking
is
about
it
it in
well,
Discord.
Ishihara is what, the CEO?
Mhm.
He's not an illustrator.
Oh, you mean like the actual people?
I
Oh,
want yeah.
okay, sure. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah,
I guess
yeah.
in my head I was just thinking people to sign, right?
Yeah,
Instead of just like illustrators specifically.
right.
Um,
And
okay, that's
yeah, yeah, so something like that. Um, and they don't have any obviously, there's no vendors there. There are booths or a booth for the competitors to trade in their points that they get for playing, to get boxes, to get whatever. Um, and yeah, they'll kick you out if you exchange money at the trading area because they're all about trading. They're not about secondary market buying and selling.
fine. Yeah.
So there's little I understand their point of view, and I'm happy that they stick to it because obviously they're very successful and they know what they're doing. But yeah, there's those few things that I think could be tweaked in a way. I don't know what that way would be. That would improve my experience as a hardcore collector. Um, looking to experience something that you can't at a normal event, a normal on a normal everyday basis. Um, so yeah.
I actually agree with you there. I Something I've always thought for years that they should do is almost kind of turn it more into like a convention, like a con, like a PokeCon or something. And I don't think they have to do a ton drastically different because
Yeah.
there's already a lot there, right? You're thinking about you've got 4 games you can spectate, tons of people to meet up with. You've got a specialized shop. Um, I don't even know that you inherently have to bring in other vendors, although I think it would be cool. I Especially because, for like Worlds, for example, a ton of people all over the world that have never been to Europe are going to go over there.
Hmm.
And there's tons of vendors in Europe that I would, like I know of 8-Bit Planet, I believe they're in the UK. And um, I've known the owner of that store for years, but I've never gotten to go to his store, and so
Yeah.
if I was going to World, that'd be a cool thing to at least like get to go to his booth, like something like that. And I think just that would bring a lot of variety to the things that you could see there.
Yeah.
Um, and knowing that you're gonna have every spectrum of collector from your highest of high end, the trophy vultures that are gonna be there literally the second that the winners get handed their trophies with a checkbook ready to write them a check. To your lowest end collector, the person that maybe they just bought a theme deck that weekend because they saw Pokemon was going on across the street and just wanted to show up and see what it was all about. And I think that having more accessibility like that would be really cool. Um, I
Yeah.
think
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, you go, you go.
Yeah. I would like that, but I want if they were to do that to add that in, they need to do it. They need to vet strictly and keep that portion very small for that event. I think that if we wanted a larger PokeCon, that should be created by the fans, like it normally is for these types of hobbies and interests. But Pokemon has axed that from becoming a big thing. So
Yeah.
that's something that they could support and make us. That should be a separate event.
So
But
the problem with that is
it's
Pokemon is extremely brand restrictive,
very
so that's
controlling.
never gonna happen. But I
I
don't even
agree.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I said, I think PokeCon might not be the greatest reference to this because I think you're already taking what you already have established and just adding a few factors, right? I
Yeah.
think adding a few vendors would be really strong. Um, I think to add some mechanic of signings. Now they already do signings, right? I believe, like I said, Ishihara's going to be there. I know they've done Masuda Nomori before. They've had plenty of people over the years, and
Yeah.
even if they're not necessarily going to be illustrators, whoever is signing, one of the things that they've done previously is like you'll get like a wristband in your world's bag, but it's usually random. I would love at minimum to see that opened up that every single competitor that qualified for Worlds gets a wristband. And I don't know what the logistics of that would look like because I know it can be really tough for them to just sit and sign all weekend.
Right.
Even if it means maybe they had to pre-sign some cards and you just like get a signed card. I've always thought it was really weird that the winners or like the competitor bags, it's almost like a lottery of if you get a wristband or not, because that almost makes it feel like some competitors got a better event than others.
Mhm.
And because that is a big deal. That's a big deal to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that, and I also know that people will trade them away because to them, for some, it's not a big deal, but, or sell them. But they do, right? And like, I get it. That would just open that up to a bigger degree. But if you're one of those people that you qualified and you really wanted to get something signed, and you don't get a wristband, to feel like you've got to go like trade away for it or like under the table buy something.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be the case. And I would love to even see it to the point that the spectators would get a chance to. And I know that it's supposed to be like this prestigious thing that happens as being a part of the event, but I do think that the spectators make up a part of that event and what the event is. I think the event would feel incredibly hollow if the spectators weren't there, right? If it was just competitors only
Right.
and no spectators, no fans, no nothing. And so I think if they
Yeah.
did that and they included some vendors, built it out a little bit, and then had that influencer integration, Leonhardt's there to meet, Unlisted
Which
Leaf,
well,
Super Duper
it
Danny.
it's there in a way, but yeah, because they invited Real Breaking Nate and Super Duper Danny and all them, and even in 2019, like I think it sounds like they fly them out and take care of them and all that to do vlogging
Okay,
or
so
whatever.
that's great. I didn't realize that
Yeah,
that they've done that.
they
So
posted,
that's
yeah, and they posted about it, Nate and Danny. I don't know who else.
Oh, I think I did see that because she had the
Yeah,
Pikachu and she was, like, in the
y-
le yeah, okay,
yeah,
so I did see
yeah.
that.
So they are doing
I guess
that.
I read that as just she was going,
Yeah.
but so that's
I
cool.
I
I
don't
would
think they
love
set
I
up.
like that.
Yeah, I don't know if they're setting up booths for signings and stuff, but they'll be at the event. They'll be around, be able to say hi to people. So,
I
um,
think it would be cool if they kind of did that,
yeah.
to, like, d
I mean, it's
because that's gonna be the thing that draws people in, right?
yeah,
Like, you know Unlisted you take Unlisted Leaf and Leonhardt and put them in a convention center, and you're gonna draw more people than if you just tell people it's a competitive Pokemon tournament,
yeah.
like, regardless of the size of it. And because their viewership base is so large, they're the Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers of our hobby, like, things like that. Like, that draws people in. And, it's like it's like how, if the NFL wanted to get more people to a preseason game, put your all-star players out there signing and people will show up because they want to get stuff signed. It
Yeah.
would be like that idea. And so I like that they're already bringing influencers and that, I assume most of them, even if they're just like on the floor or there, that they would sign stuff for people. So I think it's still cool that they're being included and that they're making that a priority now.
Yeah.
I will say, and maybe this can kind of pivot us, but I will say that one of the things Pokemon has done really well over the last few years that they did not do very well early, like in first 20, what is start to collaborate with the influencers that make their hobby what it is. And, they've started sending out like care kits for every set release or whatever that had like a package that has like a bunch of stuff in it that they can open on their channels and do things. And, I think that's incredibly important
Oh yeah.
that for years, it was almost like they were so brand restrictive and so suffocating that it was like they just saw it as like too much of a liability or a risk. Whereas I I actually think that just like held them back massively. Because all it led to was, you'd have your biggest YouTubers and influencers trying to buy product under the table from whoever stole it out of whatever factory or whatever so that they could open it early. Like you laugh, but that's true. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
what it was. Because
Yeah.
if you could get one of those items, even if you shouldn't have had them, and you could open it, you were going to garner 100,000 views that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise because you had an advantage that every other creator didn't have. I remember when like Target, because Target's notorious for this, leaking out stuff early. I think they leaked out Lost Origins early.
Yeah.
Um, if you were one of the lucky influencers that managed to like live near a Target that leaked it early, I mean, that was a huge boost, like an absolutely massive boost. And today people don't realize it as much because the biggest creators are the biggest creators. But back when PokeTubing was small and the average creator had you know, I don't know. It was Unlisted Leaf and then literally everyone else. And he would be at like 100,000 people and everyone else would have like 1,000 subscribers. If you got early product, like you could blow your channel up because you could go
Yeah.
take it and go post it in like, hey, Fonte/Verbank, like whichever period of time, and you'd get yourself a few thousand views like that because people would want to see it. Whereas now,
There's still a
them kind of
little.
putting that product in influencer hands, it also allows them to kind of control or at least help the influencers that represent their brand the way they want them to get pushed up on that
Yeah.
platform higher. And I think that's really important.
I think they still
I
have
I do
more.
think
They definitely still have more control to do with that because I think people are able to get product earlier than they um, hold the influencers to. Like they'll get the influencers product, but I think they hold them to a specific date to when they can do it. Um,
sure.
and people still get it before that. So Pokemon
Yeah.
has
Well,
to.
that
I mean
buddy,
that
that
that's
ain't
so
getting
hard to
influenced.
control, but like it's still a problem.
It is, but it is, like, it's hard to control, yes. But what I will say, and, like, this is gonna seem critical, but you know what? There are a lot of trading card games out there over the years. There's a lot of video games out there. The reality is, Pokemon has this problem more than any other. You do not see Magic stuff leak to this degree. You do not see Yu-Gi-Oh stuff leak to this degree. Yu-Gi-Oh leaks happen
Hmm.
more than Magic, but I mean, it's almost every set for Pokemon. I mean, it is almost every single set that somebody has product in hands before pre-releases start. It's almost every set that promos or whatever leak out before they're supposed to.
Well,
I
Pokemon's
mean,
easy because you know if you get the early Charizard, you're in the money. But in Magic, you don't know what card it's going to be because it's got to be playable. It's got like it's very hard
well,
to
but the
consume.
point is, like, it's just not done. Like, I'm sure in
Yeah,
Magic, people would still do it just to be able to say they had the early cards
yeah,
if the possibility was there. My point is that, like, clearly wherever these cards are being manufactured is not as locked down, and maybe that was part of them wanting to buy that the printing company is to kind of lock down on this. I don't know. We haven't really seen as many like leaks out lately. The only two I've really seen is like Target releasing product early, which at the end of the day, there's one way to solve that, and it's that video games figured out a long time ago, and it's you start finding the stores that leak it out early, right? Like
yeah,
if you ring up like a video game console or a video game before release date, um, from my understanding, the companies have a way to track that, and then they can fine, the Walmart, the Target, the Best Buy, whatever
yeah,
that released it early. And that's why a lot of times the scanners, like you'll go to get something that maybe they put it out in the glass case, but it's not for sale till tomorrow, and they'll scan it and it'll say can't be sold till tomorrow.
yeah,
They need to do that same thing with trading cards and just be done with it. Because what it does is it punishes everyone that plays by the rules. And so let's just pivot worlds, right? I think we broke that down pretty well into kind of the pros and cons of everything because this is one of my big cons as somebody that has been a player, store owner, a collector, hobbyist, but also has friends that are like run like organized play. This punishes everyone, and who it punishes the worst are the TOs, the tournament organizers that run pre-releases, the stores that run pre-releases, the ones that go out on a limb and buy this product knowing that they can only sell that product for retail and they're going to have X amount of consumers that can't wait until release day that are going to show up and play in a pre-release just to get packs early and have a good time. But if that product's already on Target shelves 3 days before, what is the incentive to go out and do that?
yeah,
And I think that is almost because it not only does it's already accessible, so you just go buy it there, but also it doesn't feel as new and cool. Like one of the cool things was about a pre-release was you're getting to play with the cards before anyone else gets to play with them, right? And that's a big deal. And that's completely lost. That whole merit's completely lost. It almost also because stuff gets leaked out so early, by the time a set actually releases, a set feels extremely old. Like that I feel like that's like why we move on from sets so quickly when things aren't crazy is because we feel like we've already experienced it because we experienced it when it was in Japanese, then we experienced the leaks, then we experienced the pre-releases. By the time the actual set releases, I've already experienced the set launch 3 times. Like, why do I care anymore? The fourth one, and I think that I get it. Pokemon's gonna sell regardless. Their bottom line is gonna be sold regardless. But if their goal, and I have to assume it is consumer satisfaction, I think getting the leaks under wraps that are happening, and when I say leaks, I mean people stealing cards, stores releasing it early, etc. They need to get a firmer grip on that.
yeah,
One of the things that Wizards of the Coast is notorious for is having like an iron fist when it comes to stores and how they sell their product, release their product, leaks, anything like that. And I think that I would love to see Pokemon take a firmer stance. As someone that when I get product in from a distributor, I'm told by my distributor because of the way it works is if you're on pre-releases, you get to sell it early on like that Monday of release week. And if you don't, you sell it on Friday. You can do pre-sales and stuff, but you're not to be shipping your stuff until Friday, aka don't be populating your labels Thursday night or what like your initial scan should be on Friday.
yeah,
I know customers that are getting their stuff on Friday, which means that it shipped on Wednesday, probably Tuesday,
yeah,
if not before. And maybe there was a chance they get it on Thursday. So now they're definitely breaking street date. How am I supposed to compete against? Even if we're the same price, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Unless you like obviously build up a loyal following or whatever that's going to shop from you. But like it's almost like the people that break the rules get rewarded because they don't punish it. And I think that's one of the things that I would love to see them take a more firm hand on. And I get that it's tough because you got to get distributors to regulate it. And like distributors just want to sell the crap and move on to the next thing. You're not their only priority, whatever. But I have to assume that Pokemon has enough influence that they could put this hammer down if they wanted to. And this is one of the things that, I remember this being complained about in 2010.
Yeah.
2010, 2011, like early release stuff. And, I know I'm comfortable saying it now because they don't TO anymore, but I know TOs that used to sell booster boxes at pre-releases, which was like the biggest no, right? Like the absolute just do not do that.
Yeah.
And because we would always know what state, what area those box leaks were going to start to come out of like whatever. And because it was a big deal to play in a pre-release, but you weren't supposed to have like a booster box yet. Like pre-releases weren't supposed to be like a mechanism to like building the set or having like everything. And I don't know. So that's one of my big like. Does that matter to you? Do you care as like a consumer maybe that doesn't have as
Yeah.
much of that integration with organized play? Like,
Yeah, I think, well, just from the distribution aspect, I mean, we see it with Fanatics and Tops in the sports world. They're pushing the narrative hard on going straight to consumer, and distributors are concerned about that. So either the distributors, even in Pokemon, need to start tightening up some screws to maintain their place in the world of cards. But yeah, I mean, the whole leaks and like they got so bad during the last couple of years, and it's taken away a lot of excitement on my end of getting to see the new sets. I mean, I think there's a whole conversation with the Japanese product and the ease of the accessibility to it now kind of takes away the excitement of English sets too. Um, but yeah, the things that I see with Pokemon are pretty specific with cards that I'd like to see improvements on. And it comes down again to licensing, like we've discussed this whole time. They The reason that Pokemon got so big and blew up in '99 was because they were open to working with just about everybody. There was Pokemon everything, Pokemon dishes, Pokemon whatever you could think of, there was Pokemon. And I mean, we're kind of seeing them expand a little bit now. Like they just announced their Squishmallows, but they're just missing out on opportunity and excitement from other demographics within their brand. Like they should have teamed up with Tops and brought back a Tops Chrome set. It's unbelievable that they didn't capitalize on that. Unbelievable. And it would have been so much fun. I just don't understand why Pokemon doesn't want to get more involved into that part of their brand, of the hobby. Like I
do you think the tops thing though is because at this point it would leach into maybe their card sales because it's a right, like, every consumer has, like, a wallet threshold of, like, how much they can spend, and I would think the same people that would buy Tops are gonna be the same people that buy the trading cards, so if your people are already buying trading cards, also, like, they're going, like, an alternate art direction, right, where,
Yeah.
like, cards have full art cards, like, that is Tops, essentially, right, just without the text on it, and so, I guess my big thing there is the Tops collab back then made a lot of sense because it potentially reached you to a whole consumer base that knew what Tops was and sports cards and things like that,
I think
but
it's the
didn't know what Pokemon was.
same exact case today.
You think it's the same today. And,
Same
and I could
thing.
see that, right? Because there are sports is massive now.
Yeah.
I guess my thought there is always just, I guess, and I'm sure they have the analytics on this, right? I'm sure this is someone in a boardroom at some time said, man, maybe we should go back to Tops, like, but is probably the data on like how much would that bleed into our card sales? Would it make us what we want? How much control would we have over the release of these things and that type of stuff? But I mean, in terms of Pokemon brand collabs, I mean, there's always going to be more that they could do, right?
Right.
And there's some that they could always do better. But I think they put their stuff, like their brand, on a lot more things than what people realize. And like one of them is they did the collaboration with it's not Mega Blocks. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
You
Off
know what I'm
that.
talking about
Yeah.
though? It's
It's not Lego.
they look like knockoff Legos,
Yeah.
right? Just go with Lego. Listen, I'm sure Lego is just as brand restrictive, which I'm sure that talk sometime happened and was probably like
They're
two very like
just
stuck in their ways people trying to have yeah, well, we're the biggest block brand,
yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
whatever.
A lot of
And
ego in
it,
that conversation.
yeah, I was gonna say it's probably more than two people. But like, it's but it's one of those things that, like, if that collab happened, if Pokemon and Lego could have found a way, I don't even know. Like, I actually cannot even fathom how large it would have been.
and how
And
beneficial it would have been for both companies.
oh, yeah.
Like,
And that's the big thing to me, I guess, is and don't worry, we're gonna have some positive stuff Pokemon did right. But I will say that that's been one of those frustrating things is I don't think they necessarily lack in collabs with other companies or like slapping their brand on other merchandise. I mean, Pokemon's on just about everything
yeah,
imaginable, like you said.
yeah.
But I do think that maybe they missed the mark on some of the places they could have integrated. You know, I th I think that they could have integrated with Fortnite. We've seen and that's a tough one, that's a tough like, even if it's just to the extent of, like, maybe the playable characters like, Fortnite's tough though because you have shooting, I guess,
Well, no,
so maybe that's
they added
not
in
Pokemon's
Thanos
thing.
with a glove. They added in Spider-Man's
Yeah,
like, there's so much they could have
yeah,
added.
the shooting may have been the limit, right? So, like,
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I guess
that
that
doesn't
one I
fit.
understand,
Yeah.
but, like, there's been other games that they could integrate with and haven't, that have, like, kind of opened that door to opportunity, um,
I mean, it's a violent
and
game. You knock each other out, like, Pokemon Unite, you're
Fall Guys. See, Fall Guys would be a great example. Like, Fall Guys is, like, the MO of their brand,
yeah.
right? Like, family friendly, fun, hang out with each other, it can be played with any age, like, make a Fall Guys Pikachu costume, a Charizard costume, whatever. Like Pusheen just put a costume in Fall Guys. Like that kind of thing. Like what a missed opportunity there to
Yeah,
like
it's
your brand in front of somebody else. And
have
like
they
a
expanded
Fall Guy is like a Squishmallow, but in a game.
I
Like they're
mean,
the same
well, the
thing.
problem with that is, I mean, they're tied to Nintendo, right? So they're not gonna collab with anybody in the video game world unless it's a Nintendo.
I think
Is
that's
that something they've done? Have they expanded out? I mean, they did Super Smash, but that's Nintendo. Niantic is really the
I was gonna say Niantic would
but like
be your
Niantic,
but Niantic's more just like the developer,
yeah,
right?
like
That they've
they built
partnered
it.
with.
Didn't they get in trouble and then they had to like give more to Pokemon or something? I don't know the details.
Yeah, but man, Fall Guys like was such a small studio at the start
Yeah,
that blew up that, like, I'm pretty sure Pokemon could have been like, "We own you now."
they could have.
"Here,
Yeah,
you get to use Pikachu, and we also own 30% of your company." Like, and they probably would have done it, right? Because that's huge. That's, like, a crazy collab to do. But, Fall Guys or not, whatever, I would just love to see Pokemon branch out more. Now, I will say, just what they're doing in-house, one of the merits I do give them is I think that they've gotten much more loose in terms of the framework of how they see Pokemon and the structure. And I'll give you an example, like Legends Arceus is a game.
yeah,
I'm still kind of baffled that we even got a game like that because that's a game that people have been asking for years. It wasn't completely open world, but a more open world story driven based game. You know, the to me, it shows that they listen. It's just maybe it's like the technology wasn't there yet. I don't really know. But
yeah.
I do think they're starting to push in that direction. Another good example in the TCG would be when they started releasing league battle decks. First it was the Rayquaza Keldeo, then we don't talk about the White Kyurem, Black Kyurem decks, but they did the Ultra Necrozma ones. Like they essentially made a lot more staples more accessible. They eventually had the Alola Raichu decks, the Reshiram Charizard decks. The trainer toolkits. They've created products to make their brand more accessible, which I think a lot of the stuff we're talking about it ties back to that, right? Accessibility, making sure that most people can see the visibility of the hobby and get into it from whatever angle, right? Whether it's I want to be a Pokemon video game player, trading card player, just want to collect merchandise, whatever. It's all about accessibility. And I think sometimes they really hit. Like I think opening up competitive play to where it's not as expensive to build a deck, where you can build a tier one deck, even if it's not necessarily the tier one deck. Maybe you're not building Palkia, but maybe you're building Arceus, right? And Arceus got a promo in the collection box, like the release promo for
Yeah.
Legends Arceus. They're doing the premium collections that's going to have an Arceus in it, which means that Arceus is going to tank because if it's Arceus V Star, I mean, look at what happened as the Gold Zamazenta and Gold Zacian. They're like $5, $10 a piece now, whereas Arceus right now is $20. So so like taking decks from $200 to $400 and making them $100 to $200 or $50 to $100 or something like that to where it's more accessible. Doesn't mean that you can't go play your $400 Palkia deck. It just means that now other people have options too. And I think that's really important. I think to me, something I've been doing lately with YouTube, like on my personal channel, kind of like getting it going again, is I've been doing a lot of behind the scenes research. And a lot of what I've been thinking about is what does my viewer want? What does the viewer that I want to have want? What do I want my community to look like? And what do I want out of the hobby? And I think that those are the same types of questions that Pokemon probably asks a lot. One of my biggest things in the hobby is I want to feel like when I walk away, if I walk away or the day I die, whatever that may be, that I helped to grow the hobby in some way and I left it better than when I started, right? That I left a positive impact on people and that people were happy I was here and a part of it. Like that to me is truly important. That's the most important thing because I care so much about it and Pokemon as a brand. And I think all of us, I think every single person watching this right now can relate to this that in some way Pokemon has changed our lives
Yeah.
and made them better. Pokemon has changed something. I found my wife because of Pokemon. I found my career because of Pokemon. I've met countless people because of Pokemon. I've went places and done things I never thought I would do because of that. And I'm sure that if we took everyone's stories, it'd be endless. And if you have a great story about what Pokemon's done for you, you should put it in the comment section down below because I'd love to read them. I love that kind of stuff, and I'll definitely respond to you. But that to me is what it's all about. And I'm sure that they're asking themselves them same questions. And so when I nitpick some of these things, it's like out of a labor of love because it's like you could do it better and you
Yeah.
could get more people involved and you could make it more inclusive to everyone, and like, which to be fair, they're one of the most inclusive brands out there. And I think that's a huge positive to them.
And they
But
should be.
yeah, and they should be, right? And that's everything they built up. Like that is their company motto is like we need to be inclusive to everyone, every walk of life. Like, man, do you remember that Pokemon Go commercial that they aired during the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Dude, that encompassed like what Pokemon and I think if you want my honest take, I think Pokemon Go really like blew up because of that. Like, because if you think about it, like that commercial like represented because like that was just like their 25th anniversary. I don't even think it was Pokemon Go, but I think like the idea of like being a collector, right? Of like or just like a Pokemon trainer, and then like Pokemon Go, and then Worlds and everything like that. But like that was like the February Super Bowl of 2016, if I remember right. That resonated with people, right? Like we were kids, we grew up with this. We always dreamed of being a trainer. Now we're in our adult lives, but it's still important to us. Like it matters, and I think that like I think a lot of times Pokemon gets criticism about certain things, but what people don't look at it from like their perspective, Pokemon is more in tune with their brand and what they want it to be with anyone else. Do I think sometimes maybe to a suffocating level where they miss opportunity because they're not willing to take any risk with their brand? Absolutely. But I think to them it's not worth the chance, right? If you're on top, why do anything that could potentially jeopardize, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like we've talked
Yeah.
about this with like with like us, right? Because you and I have very different, like when it comes to like investing in business and everything, like very different philosophies. Like I am not a risk taker, but part of that was always because I felt if I knew, like I've mapped it out, I knew I would get to where I want to be if I just do what I'm doing and don't take risk, even if it takes me longer. Right now, I take more risks because I have that luxury. Whereas, like you were the type of like, hey man, 5% chance to fail, but 95% of Hail Mary. And I'm just like, not worth the 5%,
Yeah.
And like, I think they're like, I think that's why, like, I understand what they're doing a lot of times well is because I get it. Like, I've lived it in, like, my own little bubble of, like, not willing to take that chance. Like Fortnite, not a collab worth,
No.
pairing up where everyone's like, "Oh, Pokemon's a shooting game now, like, Pikachu has a gun? No shot." And
Didn't
then,
somebody make like
Pokemon's
a
a brand
mod?
parents don't want their kids to play with it anymore.
Didn't somebody make a modded Pokemon thing that blew up on TikTok or whatever, where they would, and then Pokemon like went
Yes,
after them?
dude, and Pokemon shut it
Yeah.
down. Pokemon like, "Take that." off the internet, dude. Like, no way, because it was bad.
Yeah,
But people loved it.
yeah,
People did love it. But you know what? I think they're so smart with that because if you think about it, they could do that. They could just tomorrow say, you know what? Screw family friendly brand. Pikachu has a gun. Charizard gets an AK-47. Battle Royale, baby. Let's go. And people would love that. But you know what? They'd love it for like the equivalent of 10 minutes. And then they'd be on to whatever the next new thing is. And then Pokemon just upended everything they've spent 25 years building.
yeah.
Because now they will be labeled as not a family friendly brand anymore. And to go back and fix that, it's like that idea of like, you know, um, to outweigh a bad thing, it takes 10 good things, like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And they would spend so long repairing that image for like such a like flash in the pan like type thing. It's not worth it. And I think that's why we don't necessarily always see these inclusions, right? Like they're non-Lego building blocks. I don't even know what they're called. They probably got full creative rights over that. They got to tell them exactly what Pokemon to use, how many blocks to use, what size the product. They probably got to tell them whatever. And the
Yeah.
company did it because they're like, hey, we got the Pokemon brand behind us. Like, that's huge, right? That makes
They're
sense.
so lame. They're
And
just the Pokemon. I wanna build Pallet Town. I wanna build out the Elite Four. Like,
dude, oh, I know.
gosh.
And that's the thing. They could do so much with it. And I think that's where we as consumers have to be realistic to like, what does Pokemon want? What do we want? Where do those overlap, right? It's like that Venn diagram. And like we're only ever gonna get the stuff like in here. We're not gonna get the stuff out here because what Pokemon wants that we might not want, they're not gonna make. And what we want that Pokemon's not willing to make, we're never gonna see. And so they have to find like those happy collabs. And so to kind of pivot us off this, one of those happy collabs that is not, that I have to make sure we mention at some point in this podcast, are collection boxes. Listen. I I like collection boxes. Pokemon, if you're out there listening, and you're not, but if you were, I like collection boxes. I think they're easy to ship. Believe it or not, maybe I'll make a video on how to do that because most people think they're hard to ship. They're not. They're easy to ship. I think they're a great way to get kids into the hobby because they get some packs that they get to open, which is cool and fun, but they also get a guaranteed ultra rare, which makes them feel like they got something. They, are really easy for like box stores to store, which is super important to them because limited shelf space. But my problem is this.
Waste.
You can make a collection box like this. This is one of the greatest products Pokemon's ever made. One of the greatest. And I'm not even like here to shill these, right? This is not like you guys should be buying the evolutions, but I mean you should, but that's not my purpose with this. This is a great product. This is something people wanted. The problem is when you print Orbeetle box, Bolton V box, like Alolan Executor box. Like I almost question if their goal is for like those products to not perform well, so they hit the clearance shelves so that consumers that are like lower income, lower class can like get clearanced products. Like to me, at which point, if that's the case, you're still doing it wrong because you could just make a more affordable product for that income level so that they don't have to wait 6, 9 months, 12 months after a release to get to participate. So there's no way I think that's like actually the thing. But it's just like when you make collection boxes or you make tins is another big one they do this with. And tins I have a whole nother tangent about. But like make them still desirable. You have enough Pokemon in your arsenal that you can make a cool collection box and still not feel like you're oversaturating evolutions or that you're like, why gate every good Pokemon behind a premium collection box, right? Like if you think back to those big GX collections, there was like Charizard, the starters, and then Espeon, Umbreon, because eventually they did get clearance out at Costco. Um, but like those were cool collection boxes. You got to pick one of your favorite starters, or you got to pick a Charizard, or you got to pick an Eevee or an Umbreon. Cool collection boxes. But mainly the ones I'm like really hitting home are these 4-pack ones with one ultra rare. I mean, most of them are just misses. We have an Infernape coming up, which I actually think is a more decent one because at least it's based off of a starter.
Yeah.
I would argue Infernape's cool, but Chimchar's like probably the worst starter. But it's at least a decent box. And I think I don't think the box construction needs to be different. I don't think the price point needs to be different. I think at the end of the day, to just make them slightly more desirable Pokemon. Like there are literally just boxes I look at that I don't want to buy. And it always is the 4-pack collection boxes, right? They
Yeah.
have that new premium collection box coming out. There's like the Zerora V Star or the Deoxys V Star. Cool collection box. Cool legendary Pokemon. And I'm not even saying it has to be a legendary Pokemon every time, right? Blaziken, cool Pokemon. Like back when they did, do you remember those big? Did you ever see those big jumbo boxes that was like Mega Tyranitar or Mega Blaziken?
No.
You know what I'm talking about? They had a playmat in them. It was like built for people to play. It had a coin, a playmat, a bunch of booster packs, the promos, the like.
Yeah.
It was cool. But again, premium collection box. Like
Yeah, the ink
for every one little collection, this is my last tangent. For every one collection box, like the 4-pack with a promo that is good, there are 10 bad ones.
yeah.
And like it's not a hard fix.
There's a lot of inconsistency in this stuff, and, I think Pokemon, like you said, there's a lot of great points in there, and, like, a lot of good things that they do, and when it comes to, like, their ultra rare stuff, like, there's a lot of good things in there, like, all arts are incredible, but they went through so many different, like, ultra rare, like, avenues. It just seems so inconsistent to me. Like, they brought back Shinings for a short, like, one set, and it was great, but, like, they changed instantly to gold cards, to rainbow cards, to amazing rares. Like, there's maybe they're just testing the waters until they find something, and I think they found something with alt arts, and I hope they stick to it, and I hope they expand on it to, like, hit every single Pokemon. I want I want the Pokedex to be completed with this stuff. I don't want to have 18 Shinings and just be done with it. I want to have a whole completed Pokedex, or at least
Or it's
finish,
like a
or a
generation, right? Like
generation,
all
yeah,
Gen
a
1, all
generation, or
Gen 2.
all
Like doing the
legendaries, all
whole dex would be
starters. Yeah, like
yeah.
all of like let me complete the collection. Like you said this,
Poison sets with just 2 of the 3 Gen 1 starters. XY base, dude. Had Mega Venusaur, Mega Blastoise,
it's
no Mega
so
Charizard.
it's
They
so
saved it for Flash
yeah.
Fire. It was just like, come on.
Like
Like,
I don't, maybe there's something there that they're doing on purpose, but I feel like they're just
no.
all over the
No, no, no.
place. There's so much in
Don't give them that out, dude, because you know what? They've been doing this since, like, probably before, but at least Black and White. Full art Entei, full art Raikou, no Suicune to be
yeah.
found anywhere. It's always those in the birds.
Like,
At least the
man,
gold
like
birds, they all got a gold
the
card, but, like,
stained glass birds. Where's the stained glass dogs? Where's the stained glass Ho-Oh and Lugia? Why did you stop this?
to be fair,
It's
they can
so
always do that later, right?
yes.
Like, those could
Yes.
always come
But
later, but,
I
like,
don't
you
want
haven't
to
for,
wait
like,
this
Black
long.
and White. Sure,
Like,
sure.
why? You did, everybody loved it. You came out with Shining Fates after Hidden Fates. Why
Yeah.
didn't you continue that? It was such an easy, like, oh my
Yeah.
god, it's
Well,
so
because you don't wanna
frustrating.
overdo it though, right? You
That's
don't
not,
wanna
how is
do
that?
it.
That's one promo, like like a specialty set every year of the shiny vault, and add it like
Well, and I think they're still doing that, right? Because like,
yeah.
they didn't do a Pokemon Go set that was supposed to be like our specialty set, but, like, maybe but they're apparently next year, start next year, we're getting, like, a specialty set, and I assume it's gonna be, like, a high class set from this
And hopefully they
era.
continue the shiny vault, or
Yeah,
whatever. But
and if they do it again, because that would be a new era, right? So
yeah,
that would be in February, that's gonna be, like, the Scarlet Violet sets and everything like that. If the specialty set continues the shiny vault, I actually could see a resurgence of collectors into the shinies,
yeah,
specifically the baby shinies, because of the fact that that would really clue in that maybe they do and have intention to finish it. And I could see a massive wave of people coming back to that because the idea of having like 3 binders that are just filled with like the Pokedex in order, start to finish,
yeah,
I think people would really like that. Whereas, while baby shinies are cool and it's cool to like buy your favorite one, they're far less appealing if you're not gonna, like, have a dex to finish or whatever. Like,
right,
some people like to just collect them and have all the ones that are out, but I agree with you. So, that would be something I would watch for in that set specifically is
yeah,
if they do that. But I agree with you, though, on the inconsistencies. I remember all of Black and White, everyone being like, "Man, I can't wait for a Suicune full art. Can't wait for it. It's coming." Never came. And, like, the fact that Dark Explorers even had a water full art in Kyogre, and I get it, Kyogre Groudon, but like, why release? Because Dark Explorers had Darkrai, Kyogre, Groudon, Entei, Raikou, and then wasn't Regigigas. I don't remember the last one, but like whichever was the last one, why wasn't it Suicune? See, I can't even remember it. It should have been Suicune, and like they do it every time, dude. It's not they released promos of Entei and Raikou, but then Suicune was in a set. Like,
Actually, I just had this thought. I was at the when I was at the National with Jake, we were introduced to this older guy who collected like the 35 Mickey Mouse set, the really early stuff. And he was talking, I don't remember what specific set this was, but he was talking about a set that was released that purposely left out card number, again, I'm making up the numbers, card number 43 through 48. And they probably did that so that people would continue buying in order to complete the set. Which, again, this is probably a pretty stretched out theory with Pokemon, but maybe they did this on
do it
purpose.
because then everyone's like, "Oh, I gotta keep opening Dark
Gotta
Explorers, but
find
I
this
haven't got Suicune yet." Oh
exactly.
my! If that was the case,
It's genius, like,
no,
but
it's
it is evil.
infuriating.
It is evil.
Oh, that would grind my
Yeah,
gears. You wanna
yeah.
watch my gears grind? But, and not to, like, beat a dead horse, but in that same vein of collection boxes, tins go in the same thing. The tins, when they really started amping up tins in the black white era, specifically with the release of the Mewtwo EX, Rayquaza EX, Darkrai EX tins. That was huge. All three of those cards were extremely playable. Those were some of the most successful tins they've ever had. And it almost felt like a turning point. It felt like as a community, they had hurt us because we had complained like, in Heart Gold Soul Silver, they had the Suicune Entei Raikou tins of the shinies, but like they weren't playable, they weren't good. And back then, collecting wasn't as huge. They were worth nothing. Even today, they're not worth a ton. And it just if it, no, it didn't feel good to buy them, right? Whereas it felt like we turned that corner, and now I feel like we're taking like two steps back, or we've went this new direction where the cards and tins are playable, but the tins get put up for pre-order at the same time a set does. And so, whereas like those tins released well after those cards had released, and
Mhm.
so a Mewtwo tin, Mewtwo's already been out for a while, a bunch have been opened. It like helps kind of bring that price back down, but it doesn't like kill the set on release. Whereas like now we'll have Astral Radiance coming out. We know we're getting a Palkia 10, a Palkia V-Star collection box, everything else. Why am I opening Astral Radiance to get my Palkia cards when I just know I can go buy a 10 in a collection box and need them because I don't have a tournament for a month?
Yeah.
And like quit watering your sets down through your future product releases. Like that to me, I get it if you want to make cards more accessible, put them in the next wave of 10. Right? If you want a card to be extremely accessible because you think they're going to be too expensive like that, put them in like some kind of a collection box or something like that where maybe it's an alternate art or whatever, but you put it in a collection box and then you release that collection box down the road. Like, because a lot of times the tin releases do line up twice a year with set releases
Mhm.
and like right around that same time. Well, the problem is though that overlap just like really dampens a set because people are like, I'm not going to spend 30 bucks on a Palkia when I can just buy a tin in 2 weeks for $10,
Right.
$20, whatever they are. Like, and well, because the promo will be 10 bucks because you get 4 packs too, and it's $20 tin. And like that just really hurts, like, on the consumers. Like, it hurts everyone. Like, people think it doesn't hurt them. Like, well, Pokemon's more accessible. It's cheap. That's a great thing. It's not because now, essentially, that booster box that you're buying of Astral Radiance is just worth less. Like, you just shouldn't have bought it as much because of that product releasing. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that because they're just like, well, I want all my cards to be cheap. And everyone believes that if all this stuff was worth nothing, they'd still collect it and love it. And a very small percentage would, but most would not
Yeah.
because there's tons of. It's like, look at all the dead card games that popped up during 2020 that everyone started buying into that had been extremely cheap for so many years. Why did they start caring about them then? Because they started to become worth something.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be some intrinsic value behind something most of the time for people to care about it. So you do inherently like, why do people in this hobby admire trophy cards? Why do they admire gold stars, crystals, shinings? Why can I just ramble off this list right back to back? Because it's what people care about, because it's what has value,
There's also
right?
rarity aspect. There's also with the old
Sure.
games, there's nostalgia, that, and this, I think nostalgia is the most powerful factor in all of this.
Mhm.
Um, but the price of this stuff is what attracts a large percentage of people. Like for
Well,
me,
and
like
go ahead.
like the price point affects how I collect. Like if it was worthless, I would just probably go back to opening boxes and having fun with binder collections. Like that's probably about it. Like I want to be grading stuff. I wouldn't be buying. And I would just put together sets. Like I think that would be like it.
Or
But I don't
would
know.
you just end up gravitating to something else that had more value to collect?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think obviously you want things to be accessible,
Yeah.
but I do think that to some degree having things have value makes that chase more enticing and fun. It enhances the hobby. If
Mhm.
everything you're collecting feels like it's worth nothing, and therefore its ease of accessibility is extremely high, right? Because if everything's worth nothing and there's so much of it out there, it's not hard to get it. Look at common uncommon. You can finish the common uncommon of any set released in the last 3 years for probably 25 bucks. Why don't we see common and uncommon collectors? Because there's no difficulty to it. There's no chase, there's no story, there's no, there's nothing enticing about it.
Yeah.
And as much as people want to deny that they like their stuff having value, why do people appreciate certain things more? And I know nostalgia is going to be part of it, but like even look at that growing up, right? Why do people like the hollows in base set more than some of the non-hollow cards? Because they had value back then. They were the harder things to get. They had chase. They had a story.
Yeah.
Like it mattered. Whereas some of the best base set art is not the hollows. Dragonair has arguably like the best base set art of any card,
Yeah.
and Dragonair is the most expensive rare, but it doesn't outpace virtually any of the hollows unless you get the misprint, blah blah.
Right.
But like I don't know. That's just my thing with it is, and I know Pokemon listen. I know they listened because they listened with starter decks. People had preached for years. Starter decks are a waste of money. They don't do anything. They didn't sell when sets came out unless they put a Charizard in the front. They didn't sell, or they put a Pikachu and a Mewtwo for evolutions, like they did with Cracked Ice Hollow. And they sold just so people could take that card out and grade it and sell it to people that wanted it, but didn't want to buy a bunch of starter decks because they starter decks suck. So what they do, they started making V battle decks, and they started putting an ultra rare in the front of them. It's not anything crazy great. Most of the time, they're going to end up being 50 cents to $1 bulk, but it makes you feel like you're getting something. And then they took that a step further, like um sometimes they'll put them together, right? So like they have the single Lycanroc deck and the single Corviknight deck, but you can also buy a two-pack thing together if you want
Yeah.
two people to play that's Corviknight and Lycanroc. And if I look at a product like that versus a starter deck that came out in like the XY era that didn't have an ultra rare in the front, which one am I going to gravitate to? Ultra rare? No ultra rare. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't a hard step to make. It didn't crush the market. It didn't completely devalue everything. I would argue it just made a product that they were releasing that almost nobody wanted except the person that doesn't know anything about the hobby and is just like, well, I guess I'll buy this because it's the most cards for the least money and that's how I start to play. But you can still make that consumer feel like they got something exciting. How fun is it to buy a starter deck and play with your friend that you guys have never played before, and you slap down your big Lycanroc GX, like super mega card? Like that feels good,
Yeah.
And so they clearly have like taken these things under consideration, and they've proven they know how to make good collection boxes. Just quit gating every single one of them behind a $30 to $50 price tag and make some of the $20 ones accessible, because some of your consumer base can only afford the $20 ones. And you want them to feel included too, right? This whole thing comes back to inclusion. And I think the V battle decks, I think the trainer toolkits, I think that kind of stuff makes people feel included. It's the same way in Japan. They do a lot of, when you buy X amount of product at the Pokemon Center, you get a promo.
Yeah.
It makes you feel included. It makes you feel like you're a part of it. And the collection boxes just don't do it for me. I think the tins don't do it for me for another reason, because it's either just a bad tin like a collection box, or it's a tin reprint of a set which devalues and waters down your set. Those two are, man, not
Yeah.
not my cup of
Yeah.
tea,
These
Radar.
yeah, these things don't exist in Japan now that I think of it. They don't have collection boxes like this, except for the
No, because they don't have the shelf space, right? So, like,
it's all
everywhere
plushies.
products are designed, they do kind of sometimes
Well,
they'll have, like, those flat pack ones that,
yeah.
like, they you remember in EV Heroes, they had, like, the little pack at
Yeah.
the top, and it had the packs on the side?
Yeah.
That would be, like, our equivalent of a
Yeah.
collection box, I think. But, yeah, because they had Glaceon, Leafeon boxes, right? They were just, like, flat pack
And they did like
things.
those Charizard ones and Venusaur ones with the megas, and they obviously do their special like premium like ones, but those are very
Sure,
limited
yeah,
and
and I don't think there's anything wrong with having premium products because you do have to appeal to every variety of consumer.
yeah,
And, the reality is an ultra premium collection that comes out the gate at $100 MSRP, unfortunately, is not a product that they're making for a lower class consumer. Will the lower class consumer still buy it? Maybe. Should they? I don't know. That's not my judgment call, but it wasn't designed for them,
yeah,
right? And this is like just one of those harsh realities of like the world that people don't like to hear that a product's not designed for them, but the reality is there's a reason they do products at every dollar echelon all the way down to $1 Dollar Tree booster pack, because they know that there's a consumer base that their only injection into the hobby would be via a $1 booster pack because that's all that is accessible and affordable to that consumer base, and so they do it. And so it's that they've recognized like these consumer bases exist. I think that they could spruce up. I would love to see them spruce up those dollar packs even just a little bit. Maybe every pack has one hollow in it
yeah.
or something to where they feel like they got something, feel included. Because I've opened some of those before, and I mean, when you hit like two commons and an uncommon, like
It's
wow,
rough.
that just bad.
Yeah,
And
rough.
so I think kind of for their MO of their brand and inclusion, I think improving some of these products that they've really just done year after year for the last 9, 10 years that have gotten to a very stale state and kind of adapt them and update them, but not just in the form of, oh, we can update this, but we'll just make it a more expensive product. Now we've just got two products. I would like to just see some variation and change like they did with theme decks.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But yeah, I think they do a great job of that was a point you just brought up. They do a great job of including all different price points for different types of people, and they listen. I mean, it might not seem like they listen to you, but they listen to the consumer base pretty well.
well,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and
Like, I think that's
yeah,
that's the big thing. Like,
yeah,
Pokemon listens to you.
yeah.
They're just not gonna come out and be like, "Hey, press release, by the way,
Pokemon Radar said
here's
this.
the list of complaints you guys have had last week, and this is how we're addressing each one," because they don't owe you anything. They
Yeah,
don't owe you any obligation to say, "This is what we're doing." You'll see it through their action, right?
yeah,
Speak with your wallet. If people weren't buying theme decks, so they changed theme decks. If people quit buying collection boxes, and maybe that's why I'm wrong, right? Because people do still buy them. But if people quit buying them, they'll change them. They'll
yeah,
make them better, right? Because they want that $20 threshold to have products that are getting sold. So, but Pokemon does listen, and I think at the end of the day, if we look at the way the hobby has evolved since like 1999 to now, it's drastically improved, drastically improved. And I think it's always improving. It's always going to be an ebb and flow. Some things will be done really well, some things won't be done really well, and they'll work on it, right? At the end of the day, it's humans making these same decisions in a boardroom and trying to figure out what a consumer base wants. Sometimes you're going to have misses, and sometimes you're going to have huge hits. Huge hits.
and this
Give me the
and
other
and this circles
elusive box.
back. This circles back to the very beginning. It's
Yeah,
about enjoying the journey and the self growth, not about getting everything perfect the first time, not about completing your goals every time because then you got nothing to do. It's constant learning, constant growth, constant improvement, and enjoying the whole process of
the
getting there.
ride. Yeah, you know,
Wow.
some of the I
Wow.
agree, dude. Yeah, some of the happiest people in this hobby are the people that never finish their collections.
Yeah.
Like, they're just always on that journey. So, yeah, I think that ties it up nice. I think we hit a lot of things that
Wow.
Pokemon could do better, a lot of things that they do really
Hmm.
well that maybe they don't get enough credit for. Um, but that leads us to most people's favorite segment. I feel like we always see a little spike on the retention graph at this part. So,
Cue the
the
music.
blip and the bleps. Well, no, that was
Well, I don't. Well,
production's ruined. Show's
have you
over.
been
No blips.
watching? I added music for like one
I
second.
did. What do you mean? Have I been watching? How do you think I get the timestamps? Have I been watching?
I put a mute. I
This
put.
guy, I'm an analytic fiend, and this guy asked if I've been watching. Like,
All right. Let me pull up my blips so I can
oh
win. I can
man,
win again
wow!
for the
Doesn't
second
have it
week
on
in a
the
row.
teleprompter.
All
Holy
right.
cow! We
Blip
are falling apart.
blip number one. The Pokedex is becoming too large to enjoy.
You and your clickbait, dude. Your
It's
clickbait.
a good one.
Radar just wants to win these
That's a
every
good one.
week.
That's a
That's
good one.
Um, the level I'm trying to find my best one to pair against your best one. The level of production on Pokemon content, so not by Pokemon, but like YouTube, right? YouTubers, streamers, whatever, is going to increase tenfold over the next 2 to 3.
Can I say something?
No.
All right. Collecting in the metaverse will become the norm in less than 5 years.
I actually just hate you as a human being. Yes. Dude, these are so spicy. I don't know how people are gonna pick between your last two. That
We'll
is
just talk about them
disgusting.
all.
Yeah. No. No, we'll spread them out. We'll just repeat them more episodes. Anyways, my next one is this holiday season for Pokemon is actually going to be one of the largest they've ever had,
Ooh. I want to ask.
including 2020 and
I want to ask
2021.
questions about that. All right. Um, Beckett, I think more specifically Beckett Grading, will be bought out by Fanatics.
Oh, so for anyone that doesn't know, Fanatics is they kind of have like all the licensing on like jersey and merch, and now they're taking over trading cards
They bought
as well.
Tops. They
Yeah, they bought
they
Top.
have all the
So,
rights to the.
so he's saying that same company that's gobbled everything else is also going to gobble up Beckett Grading. Um, My last one is manga are going to become a new entrant in the collectible investing space. So there's a lot of people already that collect manga, but I believe that manga are going to become one of those things that people kind of could see as like a long-term investment type thing.
Nice. And
So
that's Blips and Bleps. Be sure to pick, let us know below which one you want us to discuss. And honestly, I think, we all had good ones there. So I might have to like remember those and repeat them in a future episode. But
future, yeah, we'll recycle maybe a few of the if we
yeah, that
sort of
was
test it.
a great conversation. I think,
It was,
yeah,
dude. That was a good one.
I like
That
this
was
one.
a fun topic. I think, different vantage points, different strokes for different folks, It's
Different strokes
it,
for different folks.
it's one of those
Make the
things.
t-shirt, baby.
You've never heard that?
No.
Oh my. We got a lot of teaching to do. Anyways, so that has been this episode of Collectible Conversations. We want to thank you for joining us. Again, make sure in that comment section to put your favorite blip or favorite blep that you want to hear us talk about next week on the episode. As well, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so that we can get seen by more people, blow up really huge, and make you more great content. I want to thank you for watching. I'm Squeaks.
I'm
That's Radar.
wrong time,
And
wrong way this time.
what?
Wrong way this time. You had it right, and then you.
Well, no, mine's wrong.
Yeah.
Remember, we're off.
Well, but you guessed. Yeah. But yeah, thank you
Get out of
guys.
here, guys.
Thank you
We'll
all.
see you later.
We'll see you next week.
Oh, I should get a drink.
Yeah. Weeks has gone off the deep end. He's going to get some scotch now that he has mahogany display cabinets. He's moved on from apple juice to 20,
Well, listen.
20-year-old aged scotch. Is that what it's called? Is Pepsi a cola? Is that what the type of soda it is? Or I say pop, but I say soda now because I moved, but now I'm back in Michigan, so it's pop again.
I flip flop, actually. No, I don't know. I don't know if cola was originally like a type of drink, and then it's like Coke is the brand, but Coca Cola, right? So, like, was cola the drink?
I'm
Because,
pretty
like, in
sure.
Japan, cola is referred to as like the flavor, right?
That's what I
Like,
mean by type of drink. The cola is the flavor. Because there's RC
yeah,
Cola from Kroger. There's
yeah,
Coca-Cola.
exactly.
Pepsi's a cola.
Off of that very heavily,
Okay.
or one of my blip, one of my bleps. I'm a blep.
You're a
You're a blip.
blepper.
Yeah, I'm a blimp.